Welcome to the Fantasy Football Garage. I'm Chris, the Candyman, and you already know what time it is. Tonight, we're drafting best ball teams, and we're getting into some fantasy golf, some PGA 2026 uh, best ball on Underdog, the Scramble. Coming off of my two finalist teams in the Scramble last year, where I had a team that finished, I think it was 23rd overall. The year before, in the 2024 season, I came fifth overall in the Albatross. So I've been in these golfing streets. We've been in these Underdog best ball streets all year long. For football, we just wrapped up week 17. Congrats to everyone for your results in your home leagues, in your dynasty leagues, in your best ball leagues. Hope you had some good week 17 luck. But tonight, we're getting into some golf. We've been talking about it all off season, and it's been ramping up. I've been alluding to it. I've even mentioned some of my teams when I was on stream with Cody 2 weeks ago. I've drafted about 100 scramble teams so far. I've maxed the Pat Mayo Open. I've got some big scrambles running, and I've got a bunch of slows going. So I'm going to pull up my drafts. We're going to tackle my slows. We'll look at my projected schedules. We'll talk about player takes, and then see if we can rip some fast drafts. But man, I'm looking at my queue of slows right now. I've got like a dozen slows. So we're going to talk through these picks, talk about our exposures, our favorite golfers for 2026, all of that good stuff and more tonight in the Fantasy Football Garage. We're teeing it up. We're going to be gripping it and ripping it tonight. So let's get right into it without further ado. If you're new to the channel, if you're here for the first time, if you're watching this later, make sure you're subscribed. I've got a goal to hit 1,000 subs, and I need your help to get there. It's free, costs you nothing. Just subscribe below, turn on notifications so you can catch me going live. Come get in the chat, say what up, join the community. We got a bunch of sharp ball knowers in this chat, people who know game theory, they know football, they know golf, they know it all. So we are multi-sport draftleets, as they say, and we're going to be here all year round, drafting football, drafting golf, getting into everything, and having some fun. So make sure you come say what up in the chat. Let me know what you're drafting. Who's your fantasy golf sleeper for 2026? And what are you excited about this season? Without further ado, let me go ahead and pull up, boom, this draft here. Okay, this is one of my slows. I've got 2 picks left. We're in the 11th round. And it's just a normal scramble draft, right? And we'll talk more about this tournament, the scoring, how it's different from 2025 to 2026, the updates they made. But the short version is the scramble. It's a tournament with $50,000 to first place. They're 6-person drafts, so there's 6 teams. You get to draft in your pods, and you're drafting 12 golfers. So you're going to be drafting from the Sony all the way through the Open at the end of the season, and there's going to be 4 legs. So it's a 1 out of 6, 1 out of 6, 1 out of 6 advanced structure. I think about 261 people in the final, if I remember correctly. We could probably pull that up here and take a look at that. Yeah, 1-6, 1-6, 1-6, 261. About 56,000 people entering it. 50,000 grand prize with about half a million total prize pool. So pretty excited to be drafting these. Like I said, I've already drafted about 100 of them. I got a ton of slows going right now. We have 2 weeks until the Sony Open, until the kickoff of the 2026 PGA Tour season. Yo, what up, Nez? What's up, brother? Taking notes. Nez, I almost tagged you on Twitter because I knew you'd be hopping in these golf streets sooner than later. But yeah, man, have you been drafting? What have you been cooking up? Yes. Why Oberg's falling so much? Yes, sir. Hey, appreciate you being here, Nez. So the thing with Oberg, and let's go ahead and pull it up and then we'll make this draft pick. We got 8 minutes on this clock, but let me pull up my schedule projections that I'm using for this. And I have it sorted by ADP on the left-hand side. So we'll go down to Oberg. He's 17.5 in ADP. And if we go to my other sheet I've got here, this is my ADP tracker. So we're in the 6th week of the scramble. I've been drafting it every single day since the Open. When the tournament opened, Oberg's ADP was 4, and then the second week it was 5, the third week it was 6, so not really moving that much, and then 7.6 the fourth week. Then in the fourth week, going into the fifth week, is when ETR released their projections, when Pat Mayo released his rankings. And so the ETR bros jumped in week 5 here, and Oberg goes from a 4 to 7 overall pick to a 12 ADP, and now he's at a 17.5. So the ETR bros, they tanked Oberg in their projections because of his schedule. He's not really playing a lot. So let's go back to the schedule projection. Oberg not playing in the Sony, not playing in the Amex. Those are two of the better, higher birdie fests, higher scoring events in the first round, the first leg. He's playing in the Farmers, which is one of the lower scoring events. There's not a lot of birdies there to go around. He's not playing in Phoenix either, another birdie fest potentially. And then he's playing at Pebble, the Genesis, which he's defending. He won the Genesis last year, although they're playing it at Torrey Pines last year due to the Palisades fires. But this year it's back. And he's not playing in the Cognizant, which is the last event in the first leg here. And so he's only playing in 3 events in the first advancing group in the first leg of the tournament. And those aren't like, he's not even in the good events. He's a killer, but if we go to like, so he's really not playing a ton of events until you get to the middle of the season. The other thing I've got here, I've got his ADP. I've got a flag that says, yes, he's in the signature events. For Oberg, this is his percentile for birdies. He's, what is that? He's 84th percentile for birdies per round among the top 200 golfers last season. This is just last season's data. So Oberg is like, he's a birdie scorer on a per round basis, but he's in the 26th percentile for rounds played. So I think he played like 75 rounds of golf last season. He did withdraw from an event. He missed an event with I think he was sick for a week, or maybe it was injury related. But Oberg is not a grinder. So he's not playing a lot of events. He's effective when he does play, but he's playing the harder events like the signature events, some of these majors where there's just not a birdie fest. There's not a lot of points to go around. So for fantasy best ball, Oberg's a stud overall. We love him for like the albatross. We love him for our one and dones and the future of the sport, but he's just not a grinder. He doesn't have what it takes for this format. Yeah, classic ETR bros just tanking the ADPs and what's going on there. Okay, so this team here, I've loaded it in to my projection window. So this is the team that I've drafted so far. It's got Siwoo Kim, who's a grinder. He's in everything. We've got Straka, love him. Tommy Fleetwood, he's more of a play for the last leg. You know, he does well in these signature events and these majors, and potentially does well at the Scottish in the Open. So Fleetwood is kind of if you get to the finals, he's a good piece to have. Nick Taylor, I think, is a solid piece. I do have Oberg on this squad, actually. I still like him at his price, and he's even like, so I got him here. Let's see. I got him in this one at pick 28, if you can believe that, Nez. Like, insane. So I'm going to scoop him up there, but you have to build a team around him now that fits to that story. So we have to have Oberg crushing some of these events where he does play, and I need some grinders in all the other events. Got Harmon, Max McGreevy, Kurt Kitayama, Davis Thompson, Garrick Higo, some young guys who are going to grind through a lot of events, and then some signature events guys. So 2 picks left in the 11th round here. I'm needing someone who can hit my CJ Cup. I'm needing someone who can hit my John Deere, 2 of the birdie fests that are on the schedule. And so when I look at who I've got here left, I think Homa could be grinding out some events. He lost his signature event status. He should get some sponsor exemptions into a few of these events. So we'll pull him up. And I think Kevin Yu, although I know Kevin Yu's not slated to play the John Deere, at least right now, and that's not great. Patrick Rogers is a guy I like. I also like, is Whaley still available? Whaley's gone. I don't mind Griot. as a non-signature event grinder. So I'm gonna go plug in a few of these names. We'll do Homa, you, Rogers, and Griot, and we'll see where they hit the schedule. So start with first with Homa. We'll plug him in here. Homa, I'm expecting him to play the Scottish Open. He did play the John Deere last year, the Canadian last year, CJ Cup. I'm expecting him to play. He didn't play it last year. Charles Schwab, I think he should play. So Homa, I think, plays these events because he's not necessarily automatically in the signature event so far. With Kevin Yu, oh, I know I'm wrong. He does have the John Deere, so I might just go Kevin Yu here, knowing that he's going to have that John Deere, and he's in a bunch of these events. He's in the Amex in the first round. Who else did we talk about? We talked about Griot is in essentially the same, but he gets a little bit more play. He played the Cognizant last year and the Sony. Let's throw Griot up there, either Homa or Griot, and then Patrick Rogers is just like, I think, solid for this format. He's about in the same things that the Griot's in, except Griot gets the players, which is nice. Patrick Rogers gets the Scottish. Griot also gets the PGA Championship. So I think I can push Griot because no one really is drafting him. He goes undrafted a lot, even though he's a solid guy, late round pickup. I'm going to go Homa here for the star power, thinking that he might get some sponsor exemptions into some of these events. And then if Homa's not actually playing in some of these other tournaments, like the CJ Cup and the Charles Schwab, which I expect him to play in, but he hasn't played in them in the last 3 years because he's been qualified for the signature events the last couple seasons. But now that he lost his full-time exemption into the signature events, I expect Homa to be grinding a little bit more, playing some of those other events. He's played Charles Schwab in the CJ Cup in previous seasons, but not recently. So then I threw in Griot into the queue there. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to add Homa to this lineup. This is my Siwoo Kim. So I'm going to toss Homa down there. I'll save that for later so I can paste it in quickly. We'll clear this out, and we'll start to look at some of these other slow drafts. I'm going to see if I can jump into a fast draft too. I just don't know if it'll fill in time, but might as well throw in a fast scramble. We'll see if it fills. Waiting on one. If you guys want to draft with me, waiting on one for a scramble. I've got something like 45 left. Hey, there we go. Yo, what's up, Coolers? How we doing, brother? Coolers, I've seen you in some of these drafts, my man. Oh, and you're in this one. Classic. Good to see you, Coolers. This point's pretty obvious, but there are generally so many picks in the last 2-3 rounds you can fill out your schedule that you should treat those like scroll down wide receivers in Battle Royale. Dude, you hit the nail on the head there. This is the strategy. And that's how I'm getting to plays like Smalley, Griot. I'll throw out some other names. Hisatsune. Guys who can go on a stretch for a month or two on a heater and just, top 10 after top 10 at a certain point in the PGA season. And they're, outside of the top 70 FedEx Cup standings, but they're inside the top 120. There may be, inside the top 100 in world rankings or nearly. They're guys who are just kind of grinding it. So we're in this fast draft here. Coolers is in here with me. I have the number 2 pick. Of course, I'm going to go Ben Griffin. Like, don't even have to think twice. I love getting a Ben Griffin team. We're going to throw Ben Griffin in. Essentially, he played in like every event last year, and now he's qualified for the signature events through all of his wins. I think he's still a grinder. He's still going to play a ton. The only thing he's not going to play in is the Canadian and the Scottish Open based on his schedule last year. He might skip some of these other events in the middle, but I think he still fills out a large amount of the season. If we go to my projected plays here, Ben Griffin is 99th percentile in rounds played. He played over 100 rounds of golf last year on the tour. He's 78th percentile in birdies per round. So the dude is a stud. Let's get him on the team. So another Ben Griffin team. Ben Griffin, and we'll look at the ADP trend too. Ben Griffin started off the tournament in the second round, pick 13. By week 2, he's a top 5 pick. So I remember in the very first week of the tournament, I was hammering Ben Griffin in the second round. He's now the second overall pick in this format. FK's up, and then I'll be picking after him. Looks like we're gonna have the choice. So McIntyre's been rising a ton. I know Coolers like some. We subscribe and listen to some of the same guys out here. I'm gonna go with JJ Spawn. I love JJ Spawn. He's a killer. He had a great career year last year. Some people are fading JJ Spawn. Does he have a down year after having such a great year, winning the U.S. Open? I like Spawn though. I think he's another guy who I expect to continue to play a lot. He played a ton last year. Spawn was an 87th percentile in rounds played, 79th percentile in birdies per round. Back on the clock. Let's see who's available. I almost always would go Jordan Spieth here. I would have taken Harry Hall. Harry Hall is another guy who's just a stud, leading the tour in birdies overall last season. But I'm going to go Jordan Spieth because all the signs are pointing to a bounce back Jordan Spieth season, and he's going to have to play a ton of these events that he hasn't necessarily had to play in previous years due to his exemptions into not only the signature events, but the majors as well. Now he doesn't even get a chance right now. He's not currently qualified for the US Open, which is the last tournament he needs to complete his career Grand Slam. So he is really kind of hounding, going to be playing a ton of events. And I think, you know, he's the top drafted player who doesn't have signature event exemption, and for good reason, because he is, one of the greatest golfers of this generation. Hasn't been as effective in winning as frequently in the last couple years, whether it's through the wrist injury or, his head not being in the right place, being too involved with the administration and some of the executive positions, in the PGA Tour. So I think he's going to be reconcentrated and refocused on his game going forward. We could see some nice big seasons from him. So we were talking about Oberg when the stream opened up. Nez was saying, "Hey, why is Oberg falling?" I'm going to see how far I can push Oberg. I've got a bunch of them. I got enough of them. I think for me here, I like McNeely, Hoey, Grazerman, Gerard, Brennan, Bridgman, Novak, another solid name. So let me go ahead and grab Rico Hoey, who pretty much led the PGA Tour in birdies last season. We'll throw him into. I'm drafting a ton of Hoey. We look here. Rico Hoey was 98th percentile in rounds played and 88th percentile in birdies per round. I think he had the most birdies on the tour last season. Gerard's a nice up-and-comer. I want to get him on as many teams as possible. I think a guy who plays a ton and is got a lot of good golf ahead of him. So we'll throw Ryan Gerard on here. In my tracker here, an X means they played it last season. The O means they are they're qualified. The E is an expected that they might play that event. And then so that's like guys whose status changed. For Rico, he was not in the signature events last year. He is this year. So now I expect him to play in the signature events. He will. Except, so I misspoke there. He's not currently qualified for all of the signature events, but because of I think it's the Aon Next 10, he's the next in the next 10 group of golfers who qualify for the first two signature events based on his FedEx Cup fall standing. But let's make a pick here. McGreevy, Rye, so some other guys who aren't qualified. I don't have enough McCarthy. I could throw in some Denny McCarthy. I just don't think he's that good. I like Goddard a lot. Batia is not bad. I'm going to go Goddard here. I draft a lot of Chris Goddard. He plays a ton of events, and so I'm really filling out my schedule here. I got to find some guys who play in the Canadian and the Scottish. Get some more signature events guys. I think Rye, if I'm not mistaken, plays the Canadian, or we expect him to. I'm gonna grab Rye here. I still like Rye. I drafted a bunch of Aaron Rye. He's also really good. Not qualified for the signature events, except for the first two, based on being in the swing 10, the next 10. I think he should play the Canadian this year. If he doesn't, I need to grab some more guys who are going to be playing in the Canadian. So far, the tournaments I need to focus on, outside of getting some more guys in these signature events, which we can easily do later. Uh, my first leg of the tournament is super filled out because I've got guys like Spieth, who I think gets sponsor exemptions at Pebble and the Genesis, Hoey, and Aaron Rye, who are in the Aon Next 10. So they're going to get exempt into the first two signature events, but then not the rest of them, which means they should be grinding out the Open tournaments the rest of the season, Canadian Open, Charles Schwab, things like that, events like that. But I need to get some more guys who are definitely in these signature events. Let's see if anything interesting happened in these last couple picks. Knapp has been going high in some drafts. I like Jake Knapp a lot. Ryan Fox has been going a little bit higher. I like Fox a good amount. I've been taking a bunch of Ryan Fox as a late guy who's qualified for these signature events. Morikawa going this late. He doesn't play a ton, but he does hit those signature events, and I think he can be good. He's been kind of a downward trajectory lately. Him, Norin is kind of a question mark. Valimaki I like. I'm going to throw in a Colin Morikawa there. I think my team can handle it. He's a risky one. He doesn't play a whole lot. He's obviously effective when he does play, but he hits my signature events, so I need him to win something, maybe win a major. And now I want to get some more grinders. I think Sami Valimaki is a fun pick. Same thing with Horschel, Higo, and Cole. Let's go with Sammy here. Eric Cole gets drafted almost every draft. He's a little bit overrated, but he's a grinder. He does play a lot of events. I need some more guys who are going to be in my Canadian. I need one more signature event guy. This is normally where I would be targeting like Fox, Ryan Fox, but he's already gone. I don't think English plays the Canadian, but I like Harris English. Might throw him in there. Then I got to find two guys who are definitely going to play the Canadian, which I can pretty easily do that. Glover's another guy I like late. Glover goes pretty hard here. So I could do English, Colley. Bud Colley's a nice pick. Glover. Bradley's fine. Does Lowry play the Canadian? I don't think he does. No. Neither does Bradley. Does Berger play the Canadian? No. Okay. So I think I'll go Harris English here. Or do I want to go Glover? I'll take some English. He's a guy you want him to get some big wins in the big events. And now I need two grinders who play the Canadian. Ryo Hisatsune should get me in there. And then what about little Davis Riley? Another scroll down pick. If not, I'll do Griot. Emiliano, another grinder. Marco Pingue, I think, is an interesting pick. I don't know. Does Rasmus play the Canadian? I feel like he doesn't. He might. I think he could. He didn't play a lot of events early, though, but I have the early events covered. Let me go Hisatsune here. on the first one. And let me think. What about Penge too? I feel like Penge might not play a lot early, but he's going to play some of uh, the early signature events. He's in some of these. He's in the majors. He could play a lot later on. It's hard to know. Penge's a fun one. I might just pick him, take a little risk there, or I go with yeah, Penge goes. I kind of expected that. He's a fun pick. I was gonna go with Rasmus Højgaard too. He's another guy I like. I want to get more of him, and I feel like this could have honestly been a really good team to take Rasmus Højgaard. So maybe I should have taken Højgaard there in the 11th round, pushed Hisatsune, who would most likely be there in the 12, because you want Rasmus Højgaard on a team that can really support him, where he doesn't have to play a lot in round one, but then he comes on strong at the end of the season, and he's a really strong name. I could do Davis Riley. I could do Griot. I'm going to go Davis Riley on this one. I've been taking some Griot, mix in some Davis Riley, former winner. Former winner. Actually, Griot won the Charles Schwab in 2023. And Davis Riley won the Charles Schwab in 2024 when I was there. I actually watched him win. I was there on Sunday back in 2024. It was a final grouping: Davis, Riley, and Scottie Scheffler. Pretty fun stuff. Really nice course at Colonial. So I'm pretty fond of Davis Riley. He had an up and down season last year, but he had some really nice finishes. Let me show you guys some of the finishes Davis Riley had, because he's a scroll the F down play. And some people just don't like Davis Riley. He's about 101 in the world right now. He's in the Masters. He's in the PGA Championship. He's not currently qualified for the US Open or the Open, but he's not in the signature events. He finished the FedEx Cup 79 overall. So he's between 70 and 120. He's kind of in that golden range for these grinders, these guys that can have a big breakout season. He's 29 years old. He's been a pro for 6 years. He's got 2 PGA Tour wins, like that Charles Schwab I was talking about in 2024. He also picked up a win at the Zurich Classic, which is no longer an event. He's got a tied for second at the 2025 PGA Championship last season, which is how he got qualified for the PGA for this year. So pretty impressive. Who beat him and is tied for second? Oh, one Scottie Scheffler at the 2025 PGA. Ever heard of him? And so this little run Davis Riley went on, he started off really, really badly his season. He withdrew from the Century, cut in his first 4 events. At the COG, he tied for 48th, but then, goes to the alternate event, the Puerto Rico Open, gets a T6. The Players gets a T38. That's all right. The Valspar, he gets a 7th, which is a pretty nice finish there, top 10. Doesn't do too well in Houston, T52. I remember seeing him play in Houston last year. I was there in person on Friday, and not a great showing there, but 21st at the Masters is pretty nice. Could be better, could be a lot worse. He T45 at the CJ Cup, not impressive. He gets cut at the alternate event at the One Flight Myrtle Beach. That's pretty bad. But then out of nowhere, a T2 at the PGA Championship. He finishes out the rest of the season with a bunch of bad performances. But he had some nice little some weeks there. The year before, he wins the Charles Schwab, T14 at the Texas Children's Houston Open. So, maybe not the consistent guy, but he's going to be playing a lot of events. He's got some years of experience under his belt, and I think he's kind of primed for like a big breakout season. He's already shown he can hang with some of the big dogs. He's beaten Scottie Scheffler at the Colonial, the Charles Schwab. He's kept pace in the major. So that's what I like to see for these guys who are trying to have a breakout season on the tour. If you go and look at their major tournament history and you see that they have a T2 at a major, maybe a top 15, a top 25 here and there, that's what you want to see. If you only see cuts, outside the top 50, it's not as indicative, but a lot of the guys who end up having nice breakout seasons, they show a little extra something in the majors. Super fun draft. Let's pull up FK's team, see what he got into. Can I get your opinion on JT this year, rehabbing from the back procedure? Are you all out? Says Coolers. Yeah, man, I'm all out on JT. I love JT. He's one of my favorite athletes, one of my favorite golfers. He's a great golfer. We all know that. Um, I don't like to draft guys when they're already injured going into the season. All it takes for him is to test out the back, have, one derailment, one follow-up procedure, any kind of other injury. It's really bad news. I think he's like currently weightlifting and putting and maybe even chipping if I'm not mistaken, but he hasn't I don't think he's taken a full swing yet. I might be wrong. I've been trying to follow it pretty closely. When the tournament opened, because of the ADP, people were drafting JT. Let me go down to where he's the biggest faller in the tournament. I can show it over here. Uh biggest fallers. Justin Thomas. He's fallen more than 20 spots in the tournament. Or let's go to him. I'll go right to him. He stands out. Tom Kim has been a big faller. Insane. Sahith's been a huge faller. Justin Thomas, when the tournament opened, he was picked 19. For a week, he was picked 28. The next week, he's picked 50. Now he's going undrafted. So he's fallen 52 spots in ADP since the tournament opened. And we had already known his injury when the tournament opened. So he put out an Instagram post that he had a micro discectomy procedure and he doesn't know when he's going to be back to golf. So what I'm expecting for him, just looking at this season schedule, he's not going to play at the Genesis. He's probably not going to play at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. We have the Players, Texas Children's. I don't think so. The Masters is probably the earliest we could see him. So if he plays this season, is he back by like the Masters? And I'm just making something up. I've been reading into it a little bit, but I haven't heard from him. But I would expect him to want to be there maybe a week or two before the Masters. If he is going to play for the Masters, he won the RBC Heritage last season, so that would make sense. If he's healthy, he can come back and play an event or two, the Masters, get back to the RBC, Harbor Town Golf Links, where he's had some success in his career, and they had that final stretch here. If that's the case, then and what level of golf is he playing too? Is he 80% of himself? Is he 100% of himself? If that's the case, I'm calling that scenario B. That's like in my mind, that's like less than half the time. That's the optimistic case in my mind. If that happens, I think he's draftable anywhere if you can make him fit onto a team. I mean, regardless of his ADP, if you can build around him with a really strong schedule like the team I just kind of built out, where I've got a ton of guys playing 8, 9, 10 events, 10 players in each of the first events in the leg, and then still really strong in the second leg to carry your team. And then if you get to the third or fourth leg and Justin Thomas is on your roster, he's going to be low owned, and he's a killer. But at the same time, how often is he going to play? Is he so then my scenario, that's my scenario A, or not my scenario, that's my scenario B, which is best case scenario for him. He comes back and he's playing a decent schedule. What I think is scenario A, the most likely, is that maybe he does come back around the Masters. Maybe he comes back later, but then he's only playing 1-2 events per month. He's just taking a ton of time off. He's only playing certain select events. He's not grinding. He's not trying to re-injure himself. So I think it's more likely that he's just not playing enough to put it shortly, I don't think he's playing enough events um, for him to pay off in this format. I think for like the Albatross, he's still interesting. So we'll be keeping him, you know, we'll be hammering Justin Thomas when the Albatross opens, I think. And then you just have the injury risk. But he played 83 rounds last year. He's a top 10 in 8 of them, top 25 in 9 of them. He's a killer. He won on the tour once, the RBC we were talking about, but I don't think he's draftable in this format right now just because of the fragility of his condition. How many weeks is he going to miss? But even if you can build out a really nice team around him in this format with the 12 players drafted on your team, even if he comes back, he just might not matter in this format because he might be playing like only the majors or some of the majors and some of the signature events and not much else. And then he just, it's best ball. He's not going to hit your lineup that many times. And when he does, you could have replaced him with somebody who also played in the first 10, 20 events. So, or 10 or 15 events, you know what I'm saying? So that's my struggle with JT is even if he played, could he matter enough to hit your lineup enough meaningful times? He'd have to like win the Open or something, or win the Scottish Open to or win a major or do something to and then you still might not even need him on your lineup. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one. Coolers. I want to show you something too. This is the 2025 scramble. So these are the results from last year. It's a slightly different format. Last year, you didn't get points awarded for finishing position. So this year, if you get first place in a tournament, you get 20 points. It goes down from there. Last year, you could only draft 10 golfers, and we had the whole signature event versus non-signature event golfer split. So the teams that did well in the scramble had a really solid mix of Siggies and non-Siggies. This is Hot Soup, who got first, who got the 50K last year. He, even though, Justin Thomas is a great golfer, didn't have Justin Thomas on his team. And Justin Thomas had a fine season, right? Pretty strong season. You had to have Scottie Scheffler. These are the top 3 teams. And then my team, which got 28th. I think I said 23rd earlier. I had 28th last year. I had 2 teams in the finals. One was 28th. One did I want to say 80, something like that, maybe 70. But we all had Scottie Scheffler. Some of the other top guys, Grazerman was nice. Thompson was nice. Nico Echeverria was a good pick. Sam Burns on each of the top 2 teams. Matt McCarty, a nice piece. Jake Knapp was a hammer. Knapp on the first and third team. Harry Hall was a complete hammer. He's on each of these top 3 teams. You had to have Harry Hall. Sam Stevens on the top 2 teams. And the top team actually has Justin Lowry. Didn't hit the lineup a lot. So you needed these mixes of guys who are grinders, who are up and comers like a Sam Stevens, Jake Knapp, McCarty, mixed in with the actually good golfers like a Sam Burns, Scottie Scheffler, more up and comers like Grazerman, Thompson. Then you have guys who are trying to get more wins on tour like Echeverria, McCarty, trying to find their wins. Harry Hall just had a nice season, was playing every event and was hitting a lot of birdies. So my team over here, I had Hall, Stevens, Kevin Yu, JT, Poston, Wyndham Clark, Nick Dunlap, which was my worst pick, but he had hit the lineup a few times. But still, Poston and Dunlap, those are the guys that pretty much cost me from doing any better than 28th. McNeely was nice. Ben Griffin, stud. So this team had Scottie Scheffler and Ben Griffin on it. Needless to say, and Harry Hall. So Sam Stevens, part of why we got so far. Sam Stevens, across the entire season, was the highest scoring player in fantasy golf for 2025. So this is Rick Rungood. This is his best ball tool. I'm going to go ahead and sort by last year's score to show you guys this. Takes a second. It's querying, and I also didn't refresh it before the stream, so I had this window open for probably a while. But it's best ball. even though the guy scores the most points, he might not hit your lineup in the same ways depending on your team that you drafted, right? But the top players for the scramble last year in terms of just raw season long points overall: Sam Stevens, Eric Cole, Ben Griffin, Siwoo Kim, Ryan Gerard, JJ Spawn, Sepp Straka, Scottie Scheffler. What do these guys all have in common? Um, well, they played either a ton of events or they won a ton of events. So Sepp, Spawn, Scheffler, those are the guys winning a bunch. The guys playing a bunch of events: Gerard, Kim, Griffin. I mean, Griffin played a bunch and won a bunch. Cole played a bunch. Stevens played a bunch. Cole and Stevens didn't win anything, but played a ton. The uh, the format's a little bit different in 2026, but still, if I sort by 2026 projections, Sam Stevens projects to still be one of the top players. He's now in the signature events. Sam Stevens was not in the signature events to start last year. So he was there. There's also that difference year to year. The guys who, like I said in the beginning of the draft, I was talking about on my team drafting Jordan Spieth, who's not in the signature events. So his status has changed. He goes from being in the signature events to no longer being in the signature events. His schedule becomes much harder to predict. So what I do is I look at past seasons for Jordan Spieth and I see which of the non-signature events has he ever played in over the last 3 or 4 years. What would I expect him to play in between the events where he's not qualified for? I think he gets some sponsor exemptions for things like Pebble Beach and Riviera Country Club based on his sponsors, his affiliation with the league, and him getting some sponsor exemptions last season too. Um, and then guys who status changed now: Gerard, he was not in the signature events last year. Now he is. Got her up. So there's a lot of moving parts, but it's fun. Makes it fun to project the schedules as best you can. Try to put this together and draft some teams with some grinders, some winners, bring together some data like the rounds played, the birdies per round. I mean, this is a birdie driven format. Even if you win the event, birdies are going to be correlated with wins. And so you can win the tournament without having the most birdies. You're going to have some eagles in there, some bogey avoidance, but essentially you draft guys who play a lot and score a lot of birdies. A birdie's worth 3 bogeys. I'm pretty sure in this format. Let's go to the scoring. Actually, is it worth 3 or 2? I think it's worth 3. So a birdie's going to be worth 3 points. A bogey's minus point 0.5. Holy shit! A birdie's worth 6 bogeys. So I completely misspoke there. I knew it was. I knew it was a lot more. A bogey's only -5 and a birdie's 3. You also get consecutive birdies, gives you an extra point. So I mean, if you have 3 birdies in a row, you're gonna get 3, 4, 4. So you're gonna get you're gonna have 11 points. That's I mean, finishing first place in a tournament's only worth 20 points. So you could have two uh like a front nine and a back nine where you have 3 consecutive birdies. You're gonna get 22 points. You could do that 3 or 4 times in a tournament and put up just a ton of points. So we want these guys who are going for birdies. They don't care about bogeys. The bonus for a bogey free round is 3 points. That's like nothing. That's just one extra bogey or birdie. And so pars 0.5, bogeys minus 0.5, eagles 8 points. That's pretty nice. So guys who can get eagles on the par fives, the long ball hitters, and the guys who are just going after the birdies, which makes me want to go to this is my data from last year. This is sorted by a super rank that I put together, but it's essentially double the weight of their percentile ranking for oh, what is it for? That one's for it's double for their percentile ranking for the number of rounds played, and then it's a 1 times multiplier for the percentile of their birdie rank. So Rico Hoey is the top in this kind of sorting. because he was 98th percentile in rounds played, 88th percentile in birdies. So the 98th percentile times two plus the 88 gets you at 284 for his scoring in this. You also have a guy like Harry Hall who's hitting up high in this. Ben Griffin up here high. Sam Burns, Kevin Yu, Siwoo Kim, Eric Cole, Patrick Rogers, Max Grazerman, Vince Whaley. So these are just guys who play a ton of rounds, who played a ton of rounds in 2025 and are pretty decent at getting birdies on a per round basis too. Here's the birdies per round metric. Anything above a 4 is nice. Anything above a 4 is really nice. I mean, just for reference, Scottie Scheffler, who he's down here somewhere, shows up right here because he's only 56th percentile in rounds played. He played 80 rounds last year. 99th percentile in birdies per round. Obviously, he's the best technically, second best because the technically first best is Garrick Higo. He's way down in here though because he didn't play a whole lot of events on the PGA Tour last year. He was playing on the Corn Ferry. But if we do, this is why I'm drafting a bunch of Higo. Higo played 48 rounds in the PGA Tour, had 5 birdies per round. So just imagine if he's playing the amount of events that, Patrick Rogers played last year or Vince Whaley, Mark Hubbard amount of rounds played. If he's playing like 80, 90 rounds, and I'm sure his birdies per round could go down a lot on a higher sample size, but just an exciting player. So I'm drafting a ton of Garrick Higo because of that. And I think he will play a good amount of these non-signature events. He's qualified for the Pebble Beach and the Genesis based on him being in the Swing 10. He also gets an exemption into the Heritage signature event based on winning on the PGA Tour in 2025. He won in the fall. I want to say it was was that the Utah that he won? So he won Punta Cana. He won was that what it was? It was just Punta Cana. He won Punta Cana last year, the alternate event. Who am I thinking of that won in the fall at the was that Shank? I thought Adam Shank won. He won the Butterfield Bermuda. Who won the Bank of Utah? That's what I'm thinking of. Michael Brennan and Hoey got second. That's right. Hoey's still looking for his first win on the tour. He got second at Bank of Utah. It was Michael Brennan, another fun up and comer to draft a bunch of for 2026. He won in the PGA Tour of Americas. He won a bunch of events, but won the Bank of Utah. And then the RSM, Sami Valimaki just won the RSM, his first PGA Tour win, the last event he played. So he's had a pretty hot streak. He finds himself in that Aon Next 10 grouping, 38th in the world right now. What was Brennan? Brennan's pretty high up in the world right now, too. Brennan's 34th in the world. Insane. Never even playing a full season on the PGA Tour yet. But the dude can bomb his drives and should be fun to watch next year. All right, let's get back into these slow drafts. Oh my god, I have so many that are due up. We'll see how many I can get through right now. Hey, what up, Pat? How we doing, brother? Hope you're doing well. Always good to see you, my man. We're out here. We're creeping up on the subbage. We're grinding the golf streets. We're drafting the scramble. I'm about like 110, 115 drafts in. Gonna be maxing the scramble this year. Finished 28th in the scramble last year. Not the best finish, but we had two teams in the finals. Can't complain. We can do better. So we're grinding it this year. Got a bunch of slow drafts going right now. Let's jump right into one of them. This one's a scramble. Let's see what FK was saying too. Yeah, Steven Yeager was a massive late round pick last year and surprised to see no teams had him. I like Yeager. He won the Houston Open 2 years ago. Last year, Minwoo Lee won it. The Jaeger won it pretty recently. He's a German golfer. He didn't have a good year. So like for Jaeger, I don't know what we're gonna do because I don't think he has full. He does. Why are we not drafting Jaeger? I was mixing him up with. I'm thinking of someone else who doesn't have full tour status for 2026. Yeah, that you. I haven't thought about Jaeger in a while. I have not clicked him once. No, I have clicked him once. I clicked him once right when the tournament opened. So he's not in the next 10. He didn't win last year, so he's not in the RBC. He's in these non-signature events. He played the signature events last year. He had 3 top 10s. Not terrible. Had a pretty bad streak at the end of last year. I like Jaeger. I think he's interesting. He had kind of his career best year in 2024. 2025 was so-so. But yeah, he's still fully on the tour, so he's going to be in a lot of these events. I probably need to update my projection for his schedule and then see about it, man. Jaeger's an interesting name to keep. I'm going to keep that one in the back of my mind. I need to go work on his schedule, coolers. Hey, what's up, Tyler? Bro, I'm working on it. I got to be a multi-sport drathlete. That's the goal. There is no off season. You can't keep me out of these drafting streets. We're back in on underdog. Some of the bros are going for the NFL playoff best ball. I don't know. Not for me. I've drafted it in the past a little bit, but I'm not like super interested in it as much. Doesn't get me as excited as drafting season long for the PGA Tour. So here we are. But yeah, FK, good shout on Jaeger. I need to update. I mean, if I go to my projection for Jaeger on my schedule, I have nothing filled out. So I'm sleeping on him. I don't have him filled out yet, which is kind of strange. But I have a few players like that who are like scroll downs that I don't have all the data for yet. That's easily one of them. Yeah, happy New Year, brother. Fun stream last night. I tuned in earlier today. I caught up with the Toxic Tower stream that you guys did. Funny as shit, of course, as always. Eh, Tyler, I got your slime in the ice machine shout out. I knew no one else would get that. Like you could see the look on their faces. They had no idea what you were talking about with Marvin Zindler, but I got you, bro. We all grew up with that. Um, Got to chase the bink where we can. Yeah, I'm trying to chase this Nez guy too. He was in the chat here earlier. He can't be the only one winning across sports. We got to represent. But yeah, man, no, it's super fun stream last night. I was talking to Bendels earlier today on the phone. We're cooking some things up behind the scenes, getting ready for our 2026 football season. Gonna be updating the dynasty ranks, updating the schedule soon for Ballsy season 2. I think we're gonna be sticking to. I think we said we're gonna do Monday nights, but we're gonna be starting that up soon. I mean, it's the day the big board drops, we will have a Ballsy that week, and he and I are doing some stuff behind the scenes, some multimedia type stuff. So stay tuned for more of that goodness. Yeah, just for us. Exactly. Classic tower stream though. So funny. Yeah, we're gonna do some more ballsy. Plenty more coming. Bigger and ballsier than ever. Let's see what was FK saying. Also, that total made sense about JT. Sounds like an even thinner bull case than I was trying to account for. So I'd love to be wrong. I'm gonna wait until we get much more news. When it's like back injuries in golf, those things just don't mix well. You see Zalatoris taking like a more than a year off. Other guys, doing things, taking plenty of time off with the back injury. So I think for JT, I'll wait to see what happens. I'll draft him for the albatross, and I'll use him for my one and dones at some point. But for the scramble, I just think you miss out on so much early in the season. And there's going to be these grinders. Some guy like, you know, there's going to be like a Vince Whaley or a Mackenzie Hughes who outscores JT like cumulatively in one of the segments while also not playing in any of the events that JT plays in. So him just playing in the harder events that are typically lower scoring, except for the Heritage, is kind of an interesting event. I think golfers typically average about 18 birdies across 4 rounds at the Heritage. So that's kind of like my watermark of a birdie fest versus one of the lower scoring events, the tougher events, the Heritage. And JT does well there, but we'll see, man. All right, let's load up this team, the slow draft. All right, this one, it's a Ben Griffin, Harry Hall through Goddard. This slow draft, this scramble. See if we can find it quickly here. Got it. Ben Griffin, Harry Hall through Goddard. We load this one in. And I mean, we've got a lot of X's here, but we have guys like Goddard, Gerard, Sam Stevens, who were not in all of the signature events last year. Now they are. So they're reclassifying. And I don't know if they're going to play every single event that we've got the X's for, which is events they played last year on their schedule. I don't know which ones to take them off on, so I'm leaving them in there. But I just know that for a lot of the non-signature events, I want to have guys who aren't in the signature events to make sure that they're guaranteed to be playing those. Because the only thing we can truly predict is the players who are qualified for the majors and the signature events. They will show up to those events. For all of the opens, the Sony Open, the American Express, the Cognizant, especially the Canadian, the John Deere, even things like the CJ Cup or the Scottish Open, we have no idea who's going to commit to playing in that until 2-3 weeks before the tournament. Maybe some players will release their full season schedules in the next 2 weeks that we have before the Sony, but it's not that likely. You could have a guy who says they're going to commit to playing the Houston Open and then they decommit from it a week before because back soreness, wrist soreness, back tightness, whatever injuries going on at the time. So for the events that I know are birdie fests, like the American Express, the Sony, the CJ Cup, the John Deere, the Scottish, I want at least 7 or 8 golfers based on my projection so that I can know that when I get there, I'll end up with probably 6 at the worst case. So I can still field an entire lineup. And then in the best case, I'll have 8, maybe even 9 golfers if I plan these out, really, really with a lot of foresight. It's hard to get 9 on some of these events like the Canadian, but those are the events you're going to want to have a lot of golfers in because your opponents in your pod might only have 4, 5, 6 guys in that event. And if you have 8, you just have a larger field of players to draw from for your best ball scoring. And so, some guys will get cut. I saw this last year a lot in the scramble. Some teams were only fielding like 5 players at, let's just say, the Canadian Open. And then there's the cut, and now they have 2 or 3. And you might have started with 8. The cut comes, now you still have 6 or 5. And so you're just in a lot better position. And having an extra golfer at an event like the John Deere is worth so much more than having an extra golfer at a harder event like even the Masters or, any of these other events that just don't score as many points. Like the Farmers. The Farmers is one of the events that matters the least. So we're on the clock here, 12 minutes to go. Let me see what we can do. I like Aaron Rye, pick 46, past ADP, and let's see what he does for this team. I think I can pretty much at this point, I can carry anybody. And as long as I think he might play the Canadian Open, he works for this team because I want, like I said, I want to get the Canadian up to about 7 or 8 golfers if I can, if I'm able to swing that. I also like Aaron Rye because he doesn't play a whole lot early. He's going to be playing in Dubai for the first 2 weeks on the DP World Tour, but then he comes back. Maybe we'll see him at the Farmers. We should expect to see him at the Phoenix, and then he's qualified for Pebble and Genesis through the Aon Next 10. He probably won't play the Cog though, which I mean it's fine, but it would be nice if he did. He is qualified for all of the majors, which is also nice, or at least he's trending to be qualified based on his official world golf ranking. So I have a ton of Aaron Rye, but I don't know who else I'd want more right here. With my next pick, if a guy like Kiefer is there, I might take a swing, maybe Norin. But at the same time, they might not be playing the Canadian. I get a guy like Ryan Fox, who's been rising a bunch. He's a name I could consider taking here. He won the Canadian last year. I think Fox is a pretty strong pick. He's in all the signature events, so he's not going to be grinding out the non-sigs like an Aaron Rye might. The only trap with Aaron Rye is he does play some events on the DP World Tour, so you're not going to get any fantasy points for any weeks where he's playing over there. I think I can cover for him, though. Let's go ahead and throw Aaron Rye on this one. And then see what we get into with our next slow draft. This is another scramble, and I'm in round 7. So a little bit ahead of where I just picked Aaron Rye. You see Aaron Rye still available. Akshay Bhatia is there. Chris Kirk. Goddard's available. Valimaki. Jake Knapp. McCarty. I thought I had enough McCarty, but I really don't. I might be able to get, essentially, I can probably get any of these guys with my next pick. Throw Aaron Ryan Clark in there. I have a bunch of Wyndham Clark. I'm a big fan of Wyndham Clark. I think he's shown he's a major winner. He's shown he can play with the best of them. He just kind of had a down year. He's not in the signature events for 2026. Can he grind it out and play some of these other tournaments well? I think he can. So on this one, it's Sam Burns, JJ Spawn through Novak. Let me go ahead and load that in. Burns, JJ Spawn through Novak right here. Let's see what our gaps are on this one. Based on last year's events, the current schedule, we've got a lot of gaps left. We're only halfway through. We really need to focus on, again, the Canadian, the John Deere, the Valspar. So I think this does make me lean into going for like a Kirk, Valimaki, Knapp, McCarty, even a Rye or a Clark, these non-signature event guys. So let's load a few of those names in there and see how it looks. Before I do that, let me shoot out a reminder. Throw a like on the stream. Come say what up in the chat. Make sure you're subbed. If you're new to the channel, if you're watching this in the future, thanks for being here. I've got a goal to hit 1,000 subs essentially before the start of the NFL season. I think we can do it. We're going to have a fun off season. We're drafting golf right now for the next 2 weeks before the scramble closes. I'm also going to be talking one and done content for the PGA Tour in season. I got a couple entries into the Pat Mayo one and done, a couple entries into the Rick Rungood one and done. So we'll be talking one and dones golf all in season. We're going to be drafting the Albatross all the way up into the Masters. So more to come for that. Like I said, I finished 5th in the Albatross 2 seasons ago. And it's one of my favorite tournaments to draft. I mean, it's so hyper-focused on the majors, and it's a really fun one. And then starting up in a couple weeks, probably 2-3 weeks from now, we're going to have the NFL for 2026 starting back up, drafting best ball teams on Underdog. The big board should be dropping in the next probably 3 weeks. Who knows? More to come for that. So I'll be doing weekly streams, shows, fantasy golf fantasy football, doing it all. Make sure you're here for it. Be subscribed. Come say what up in the chat. Turn notifications on so you know I'm going live. Follow me on Twitter at FFB Garage. I'm looking at my Twitter now. The bros, Bindles, Tyler, thanks for the retweets, the likes, all that. Let me go ahead and throw myself a retweet right now because we're going into hour 2 and we're still drafting strong. Let's see what we can do. Boom. And yeah, man, it's gonna be fun. Cool. There we go. Post. Hell yeah. Okay. Kirk, Valimaki, Knapp, McCarty, Rye. Let's see where these guys fit in. So what I like to do, I like to throw up Kirk, Volley, McCarty, and Rye, and I'm going to highlight them. These are the selections I could take with this team. Besides Rye, they all look pretty strong in the first leg. Playing in the, they're all three of them in the Cognizant. Two of them, Kirk and McCarty, are in the Sony. Three of them, they're all in the American Express and the Cog. So I'm going to do a slight preference to those three golfers over Rye for the moment being, just because of that. We've also got Valimaki and Kirk are also in the Aeon's next 10. So they're going to get into the Pebble and the Genesis. I don't hate that, though, that McCarty's not in. That's totally fine. Valimaki, because he won in 2025. Like I said, he's in the Heritage. In the second leg here, Kirk's a little bit weaker. We don't know what he's going to be playing for sure. He was in the signature events last year. He's not in them full time this year. So he's at least in the players, but everyone is. Does he play the Valspar or Houston? I'm not sure. He played the Valero last year. He's not currently in the Masters, which he did play last year's, or the Heritage. So he's missing a good amount of events. I might think he could play like the Valspar in Houston because he's not in the signature events in the middle of the season here, like I guess the second leg. Valimaki played him last year. He'd probably play him again. He's also qualified for the majors, on track right now. So I'm thinking I'm going Sammy here. In the third leg of the tournament, it's pretty much a toss-up. No idea what Chris Kirk's going to do here. Does he play the CJ Cup? He hasn't traditionally played that. And then for the final, we've got Kirk. I think he plays the Canadian. I'm not sure if he will. Valimaki has no history of it. He might play there. Not sure. McCarty does, though. All of them played the John Deere last year. All of them probably played the Genesis this year. Although he's not in the Canadian, and I do need to fill out the Canadian, I feel like Valimaki is in a lot of other things. So what I'll do is I'm going to go with Sammy. And then I'll come back around and take one of Kirk or McCarty. What about Knapp, actually? Let's see what Knapp's got going on in here. Yeah, Knapp might not play the Sony. I don't think he's committed to it yet. He's definitely in for the Cog, though. And he should play the Canadian, so I feel like Knapp could be nice. That's okay. So I'm going to go Sammy, and then Kirk, Knapp, and McCarty. One of them will be there for sure. Yo, what's up, TJ? How we doing, brother? Hey, appreciate you being here. Silently lurking. Just threw a quote on Twitter. My man. Appreciate the shout. How we doing? Happy New Year, brother. Good to see you. Hope you've enjoyed, and hope you're around for more. Make sure you're subbed, everyone out there, to the channel. We'll be drafting on Underdog all winter, all spring, all summer. We've got the big board launching in a few weeks, probably this month. So a ton of season long best ball for the NFL on this channel. Also, I'm going to be drafting the scramble the next 2 weeks while it's open, and then the albatross all the way through the Masters. Like I said, I placed fifth in the albatross 2 years ago. And then last year I did 28th in the scramble, had two teams in the finals. So I did decent, but could be better. We're drafting the scramble right now. I've done, I think, like 115 PGA season long drafts. I've maxed the Pat Mayo Open, which is closed now. I've done a few of the big scrambles. And then here, I've got like 40 something scrambles left to get in the next 2 weeks. So I might as well stream a few of them, have some fun now that we're past through the holiday season. We're past week 17 of the NFL. But yeah, if you like best ball content, game theory, fantasy strategy, if you're a ball knower or a data guy, come get in the channel, say what up. We got a ton of people in this community that you can speak to, and the goal is just to have fun, get sharper every day, learn something new. So you guys can help me out. I'll help you out. We'll all get better. Subbing is free, likes are free, so make sure you do those and say what up in the chat. And then, yeah, more to come soon. More announcements coming soon for content on the channel. But we're doing PGA season long, doing NFL season long, year round here in the Fantasy Football Garage. So make sure you have notifications on to catch when I go live. Make sure you're following me on Twitter if you're on Twitter at FFB Garage. I also stream this to my Twitter, so you can see it there. You'll see that I'm live. You can hop into YouTube, come say what up. Okay, let's get Sammy on this one. And then, like I said, I'm sure I'll be able to pick, hopefully somewhat soon, maybe tomorrow, but Kirk, Knapp, McCarty, Rye. I think they all play in the Canadian, or I'm projecting them to. So, yeah, that's going to help fill out the last leg of the tournament, which, if week 17 is all that matters, as we say in the NFL season long. I think for this format, you really have to hammer the events in the final round, the Canadian Open through the Open, which this year is at Royal Birkdale Golf Club. And so I got to do a little bit more research on Royal Birkdale, but essentially you just expect the Open's a pretty tough tournament. So it's not really a birdie fest like the Scottish the week before, the John Deere. So you got to make sure you load up on these non-major, non-signature events in this format so you don't get left out and behind some of these teams that can have huge scores going into the Open that you just can't even catch them. Okay, so that's our pick there. That was a 7th round pick, Valimaki. I've been taking a bunch of them. He's going to be a guy on the tour this year, probably looking for a career year, young up and comer out of Finland. All right, this one, we're in here. I see some familiar names. We've got two back-to-back picks in the 7th and 8th round. So somewhat similar selections for us to go with here. Let's load up this team. It's a Cam Young, Harry Hall through Brian Harmon. Put this one in my season predictions. And see, in this one, I'm doing really strongly in the Canadian. Each of my first 5 golfers I'm expecting to play in the Canadian Open. But I've got some holes at the John Deere, the Scottish, and then, of course, the signature events. I haven't been hammering signature event golfers yet, which makes this kind of an ideal spot to take some of those guys. I could go with Colin Morikawa or Russell Henley. I have 2 picks here. Matt Fitzpatrick, another great selection. Overall, in real life, great golfer, major winner. But does he fit this format? Does he fit what I need? Chris Kirk there again. Let me toss in a few names. Let me see if I can handle a Morikawa or a Henley on this team. They just don't really play a lot of events. Is the biggest problem with those guys. So like Henley, does he actually play the Cognizant this year? I heard Byron Linque talking earlier on his stream that he thinks that because Henley's in the American Express, he might not play the Cognizant. He's one of the best golfers in the world. We know that, but he's not getting drafted like it. And does this format not really lend itself to taking a player who's really a really strong golfer, but is playing these really tough events that are just not birdie fests? He doesn't get the CJ Cup. He's not going to be at the John Deere, the Scottish. At least he gets the Travelers, not the Canadian either. So he's not really helping us fill out our schedule here. He's a nice, strong piece. It's tough. It's tough. I love Henley, though. I was drafting a lot of them to start, and his ADP has fallen a bunch, too, as we've gotten more information on the schedules. I might be able to cover for Henley, though. Let me think about taking him. Say what up here to my man, ASAP Tuna. Yeah, let's get it. Some PGA, baby. Hey, appreciate that. Yeah, you were saying, I said you on Twitter, you're saying you're in the Pat Mail one and done. I'm in there as well. Yeah, man. We'll talk some one and done. We have a little bit of time, and one and done is so week to week. Um, I like talking a lot with other people and figuring out what they're doing for their one and dones as well. I am on the fence. Like sometimes I'll schedule out my season for one and dones, and sometimes I'll just keep it completely week to week. I was talking maybe 2 weeks ago on the stream here with Cody from Off the Schneid, and he was talking about his one and done strategy and like what he likes to do. He kind of likes to plan out his entire season and then just stick with it. But I'm not sure yet. I think I can come up with something similar to this, projecting schedules and then mixing in, dollar values of the tournaments. You have the signature events, which the purse is like what, 20 million versus the non-signature events that have like half the purse or even less sometimes. The majors. Um, Yes, there's a lot of different strategy around, saving the best golfers for different times, players who are just horses for courses, as they say, guys who historically do very well. Obviously, you have golfers who have won an event multiple times. And could they win that event again? Or is it more useful to use them somewhere else with a larger purse? All of those fun, different dynamics. I'm excited to do some more one and done action this year. The question I have right now, can I float Russell Henley on this team? I mean, how can I build around him better? I'm gonna Morikawa or Fitzpatrick. So Morikawa, Henley, and Fitzpatrick are all signature event golfers, and these are golfers you probably know. They're, I mean, Morikawa's had a rough year, but these are some of the best golfers in the world. But are they the best golfers for this format? This is a format that rewards guys who are grinders, play a ton of events throughout the season, play some of the events that are birdie fest, these usually typically the easier courses, higher scoring averages, more birdies per round. And these three golfers are not that. These are guys who are hunting for majors and playing the signature events, not exclusively, but to a high degree, they're focusing on it. They leave huge holes in the schedule here. So I think what I do is with my next two picks, I get ahead of the schedule a little bit. It hurts, but like I'm gonna push all of those golfers to my next selection. And if any of them are there at 54 or 55, you hammer them and you've built them in and you have the ability to take on the risk that they're just not playing that many events. But right now we need some grinders. This is where the grinders start to fly off the board. The Brennans, the McGreevy's, Nico Echeverria, Eric Cole going a bit early here, but I don't hate it. We think Wyndham Clark's going to be playing a ton of events. And I've already got some guys who are going to play a bunch of events, but I've got some holes. What does Kiefer do for this team? Jake Knapp. I could use some more McCarty. So I'm going to throw these names in. Sammy, Kiefer, Knapp, McCarty. Kiefer coming up off of the Corn Ferry Tour. I I think he finished second overall. All right. I expect them all to play in the John Deere. In fact, they all did except for Kiefer, who hadn't played on the tour full time yet. So it's a complete kind of guessing game how many events and which events Kiefer plays. But I think he should just play every open tournament he can get into. So I've kind of got him on that. Probably plays the Deer. How good is he going to be when he gets there? We think he's good, but we don't know for sure. Right now, Kiefer is, I don't know, Data Golf's not loading. Let me reload that. I don't know if they're doing an update to Data Golf or it's a me problem. Hopefully not a me problem. Says the site's down. But anyways, we could pull up Kiefer. Kiefer, should be good. Should be playing, grinding a lot of this. But really filling out my schedule here. Oh, I threw in Denny McCarthy. I need to be Matt McCarty. Yeah, Matt McCarty helps out a bunch in the final leg. He gets the Canadian, like I was saying earlier. So McCarty could be nice. Knapp is rising. He doesn't play Sony though. He does play a lot in the second round. I think I want to go either Knapp or McCarty just to mix it up. But I have two picks. Throw in Kiefer, pretty risky. Let me see if Data Golf reloads. There it is. I don't know what was up with that. So Kiefer, oh no, he finished first on the Corn Ferry. What was I thinking of? Second was Blanchette. I don't know who I was thinking of. Maybe I was thinking of the DP World Tour and somebody else. I mean, he's top 50 in the world right now. We just haven't seen a lot out of Johnny Kiefer. He hits the ball pretty far, decent putter. Is it worth going for one of these unknown rookies on the PGA Tour? I don't know. I don't know if the payoff is there. It's pretty expensive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in Knapp and McCarty. Guys, I just want to get more exposure to. Boom. Let's do it. Let's see look at an updated view of these two guys plugged in here. After Brian Harmon, who I had picked before. So now the holes on my team, I mean, it's the signature events, but those are easy to fill later, especially. There's a bunch of signature event guys who go late, whether it's Lucas Glover, Fowler, Jonathan Vegas goes undrafted most of the time. But I'm feeling very good about my Canadian Open right now. My John Deere's getting closer. My Scottish feels pretty good. You can see here, if it's highlighted in blue, that's like a 4-5. I want to have at least 6 is complete. And then ideally, you want to get to like 8 or more golfers per event as soon as you can, just so you have some more options to draw from during that event. Guys always get injured. Guys, they withdraw from events. Guys get cut in some of these open events. So you want to have more than just 6 golfers, especially in the ones with cuts, these open events that, can be harder to play around if you're just drafting players who are in the signature events. Yo, what's up, Mike? How we doing, my man? What's the toughest combo to get or rare starts? You know, it's funny because the ADP's been changing so much throughout this tournament. We're in the 6th week right now of drafting the scramble. So I've got all of the ADP, all the weeks here. We started drafting back the week of November, like 25th or 6th. I think 26th was the actual day it opened, or was around there. Around then, at least I pulled the ADP that day. No, that was it. That was the first day because look, these ADPs don't have any decimals. So I pulled the ADP every Tuesday since then. I pulled it earlier this week, and the ADPs have moved a ton. Michael Kim went from an undrafted player to a first, second round pick. You had guys like Sam Burns, who was going in the second or third round. Now he's clearly in the first round. Same thing with Ben Griffin, kind of started off, but then quickly ascended to a top three pick. Guys falling, and then guys rising. So the toughest combinations, I think, I have reviewed some teams that I've drafted early back in November, in early December, where I've got, let's say, 6, 7 golfers that now go in the first 3 rounds. So you can't necessarily get that combination, but that doesn't mean that's the combination that wins, because this is really a format where the ADP is constantly changing. It's pretty fluid. There's only a few players whose ADP will stick, pretty consistently the same, whether it's in the same round or kind of in the same round or two. Otherwise, it's hard to say because the combinations change a lot. But I think if you can get a team, and I have some teams with Scottie Scheffler and Ben Griffin on it, like that's insanely sick. Some of those early start teams are impossible to get now. Same thing with the Sam Burns teams. Sam Burns was going at pick 24, 22, 18, 13, 7. This week, Sam Burns is a fourth overall pick, so it goes in the first round. So I have a bunch of teams. I wish I had more Sam Burns, but I have a few teams with Sam Burns as like a third, fourth round pick, fifth round pick, and now he goes in the first round. So some of those combinations are hard to get. It's get your guys, take guys you like. Make sure you get draft golfers who aren't in the signature events. And at the same time, I back in November and December, I was drafting Russell Henley on a bunch of my teams, a ton of my teams, and he's fallen significantly. He's fallen from a second, third round pick. Now Russell Henley is going and he was started off at 11, then 15, then 21. That's where I started to pump the brakes when he got up to 21. Now he's picked 41, and I've skipped on him around the 40s. I'm waiting until the 50s to get him. He just doesn't play enough events, is what it comes down to. Even though he's one of the best golfers in the world, I think he's still undervalued. I think he should be going in like the 30s, but the market kind of determines where he goes. So I don't want to reach for him, and I don't want to be too overexposed to him. I don't want any golfer to be like so overexposed in my portfolio of teams that I've drafted that I ended up like being so vulnerable to an injury or a bad outcome. So I had to pump the brakes on Russell Henley, but I really like Russell Henley. I just don't know if this is the format for him. I think the Albatross is a better format for him, which is the majors only tournament on Underdog, which opens up usually in a few weeks, maybe a month. But right now it's the Scramble season long. It has all the events from the Sony through the Open. And yeah, so I have a bunch of teams with Russell Henley in my first, 3 rounds that we'll see how they do. As long as you can, I don't think ADP matters as much. As long as you can draft golfers who are in all of the events, it doesn't really matter where you got them in the draft. So there are certain players that have been pinned to the first round, like a Scottie Scheffler or Xander Schauffele. I mean, we even saw Rory McIlroy drop from a first round pick, second overall, to being a third, fourth round pick. So there's been a lot of movement, but you have to, if you are going to draft Rory, it's whether you take him in the first round or the fourth round, you still have to build a team around him that complements all the events that he's not going to play. Guys who play in the Cognizant, guys who are going to play at the Sony, the Amex, some of these early events, and some of these middle events like the John Deere that Rory is never going to show up to. You got to make sure you have golfers who are in those events. So yeah, kind of I hope I answered your question there, Mike. Kind of went on a tangent, but yeah, just what I'm thinking about it. And thanks for being here, Mike. Good to see you, brother. Hope you're having a happy new year. Hey, my man, JT. I thought I saw that name pop up. JT, look who it is. Look what the cat dragged in, my man. Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. Nice job on your finish there for your NFL Week 17. Looks like you pulled out a nice little win. Hopefully that covered your season for you. Makes you feel good. So I'm glad to see that result. And good to see you back, JT. Good to see you. Always good to see you, JT. Hope you're doing well. Happy New Year, brother. Hope the family's well. The late night crowd showing up. I guess so. Yeah. The late night crowd is here. Come in the chat, say what up. Let me know if you've drafted any of these scramble teams yet. I've got a bunch of slows going, and we're going to keep drafting them. Did I remember to put my golfers down below? Let me see this. McCarty and Knapp. No, I didn't. I didn't copy. Let me copy them down. But yeah, if you're new to the channel, or if you're watching this in the future, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit the like. Help me hit my sub goal. Trying to get to 1,000. No, that wasn't the right team, was it? Was that the one I just picked, drafted on? It was. Okay, that wasn't even a scramble. That was a big scramble. So, whoops. But the only difference in strategy for the big scramble is there's a little bit more emphasis on round two because it's a 2 out of 6, 2 out of 10, or no, it's I think it's the advance is 2 out of 12, actually. No, it can't be 2 out of 12. It's 1 out of 6, 1 out of 6, 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5. I was thinking back to the Pat Mayo Open advanced structure, which was like 2-6, 2-10, 2-6, or something like that. This is 1-6, 1-6, 1-5, 25. It's only slightly different. There's some emphasis on round three with the 1 out of 5, but it's not that different. But it's funny. I mean, I honestly don't think I make that different of selections, whether it's a big scramble or a scramble. Kind of the same overall thought process, anyways. Slightly different advancing structure, and then a much smaller final size. So you don't have to go crazy in the final leg and getting so different. You want to play a little bit more conservative because you only have to beat 24 other drafters in the final week of the tournament for the big scramble. But in the normal scramble, you have to beat 260 other drafters. So it's a little bit different, little bit larger. I mean, a bit larger field, 10 times the size of the field in the final for the scramble versus the big scramble. So that's just something to keep in mind. A team that you draft that can win the scramble is going to have to be different enough. But I'd bet the team that wins the big scramble probably places somewhere within the top 25, but not necessarily even the top 10 of the scramble is kind of what I would expect. But I don't know that. That's what my intuition says. The quality of the team, you have to have a much stronger team to win the larger field tournament in the finals. Yeah, we're always late night crew around here. I put my kids down and then fire up the stream. So I've been doing that all NFL season. I think typically I'll start my streams around 10 to 10:30 Eastern time, and I like to go live. Typically, 3, 4 days a week. I would say 3 days. I like to have the schedule. Bindles and I are doing the Ballsy show again on Monday nights for the football season long, starting up with the big board. And then I'll be doing some shows on Tuesdays, maybe even Wednesdays, and then we'll sprinkle something in on a random Friday or Saturday night here and there, schedule permitting, if I don't have too much else going on. But um, yeah, the rest of this golf season too, the next 2 weeks until the Sony Open, we're closing out the scramble, and then we'll have the Albatross to draft. We'll be doing some late night streams here in the Fantasy Football Garage. So make sure you have the notifications turned on. You know when I go live. But generally, yeah, a couple nights a week and starting pretty late, about 10 Eastern. I'm in Central Time Zone, so it's not that late for me, but we do burn the midnight oil around here. The house has to be quiet. The family's asleep. The kids are asleep. The dog is asleep. We've already hit the gym today. I went out to Memorial Golf Course. So my home golf course is Memorial Golf Course, where they play the Texas Children's Houston Open. It's just down the street from me, and so that's where I go hit balls. So I was there hitting balls earlier today. Worked on my short game. Probably chipped about probably at least 150 balls, putt for about 20 minutes on the putting green. I was gonna swing the clubs, but the driving range was closed for New Year's. It makes zero sense to me. Still a lot going on there, but we've hit the gym. We hit the golf course. We swim at the pool with the kids. We did it all today. We've been chilling. So now the house is quiet. We've got it all to ourselves. Time to draft some best ball teams. And let's get into some more. We're drafting the scramble and the big scramble. This was a big scramble. Got to check that next time before we just jump right in and draft random players. Okay, so I have a few more slow Pat Mayo Opens going. It is a filled tournament, but I have some slow drafts going. This one is a slow for the Pat Mayo Open, and it is a rake-free tournament. Sorry you didn't get in if you didn't. 2-6, 2-10, 2-6, 36 team final for $5,000. Only 1,600 entrants, so this is a pretty small field tournament. The 2 out of 10 in the second leg is distinct because instead of being a 33% advance rate, there is a 20% advance rate in the second leg here, which goes from the API. That's the Arnold Palmer Invitational through the Heritage, RBC Heritage, both of those signature events. We have the Players, the Masters, and the 3 Opens in between. So it's a little different, but I think you just focus a little bit more on filling out the schedule here and making sure you advance in week 1 and 2 to get to week in segment 1 and 2 to get to segment 3 and 4. FK says, I feel like someone's rankings have Knapp and Kirk very high because my fast, they always go well ahead of ADP. I have noticed that too. I don't know if ETR made an update, but I've been seeing Kirk and Knapp rising quickly. If we go to the ADP tracker here, let me scroll down and find. So Kirk, I drafted a lot of Kirk early on. He was going in the 60s and the 50s up until this week. Now he's going in the 30s. So Christian Kirk is up 40% week over week. So from the last 2 weeks, he's up 40% ADP wise. He's risen 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds over the last 2 weeks. He's up 24 spots overall in the tournament. Him, and then the other one you mentioned was Knapp. He's starting to slowly rise. So Knapp was in the 60s. He's now going in the 50s. He's up about 14%. But I get what you're saying. I think even in the last day or two, Knapp has risen a bunch because I've been seeing Knapp going in like the 40s range. Sort by ADP here. Yeah, now Knapp's in the 40s. So in the last 2 days, Knapp's gone from like the mid 50s to like the mid 40s. So I think there's a big update there with ETR, I'm pretty sure. Hey, appreciate you, Mike. JT, good to see you, brother. And TJ, the late night stuff. Hell yeah, brother. You going to dabble in the new PGA full tourney weekly drafts as well? My man, you already know it. I was so excited when Rudman was hinting at that. He was on the Badge Bros channel. I want to say it was like beginning of last spring or maybe even the beginning of last summer. And he was talking about the draft games and stuff. And he was talking about the new one of the new things. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard talk about it first, but yeah, I think I drafted just a little bit of in-season dailies for PGA, and it was fine, but it's so volatile. It's so volatile day to day in the dailies. It's really hard to be consistently good in those. And so instead of drafting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and having to like update your method day to day based on the results, I think it's going to be much easier and um, easier to digest and easier to get involved in and more fun because of making it easier to draft a team Thursday or draft a team, before Thursday that plays through Sunday. So I'm excited about that and I can't wait for that. So definitely along with the scramble finishing up, I'll be definitely streaming some weekly tournaments and talking one and dones this season for PGA in season. So yeah, definitely look forward to that. I remembered um I forgot to remember to talk about that, but I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, the weeklies are gonna be sick because it's like, all right, it's the Sony Open. What's gonna happen? And then it's the Amex, and then we're gonna have some winners. We're gonna have some results. We're gonna have some guys who start off the season really poorly, and then who we're gonna pick for the Farmers and the Phoenix Open. So it's gonna make it just so much fun and add that extra sweat weekly for pulling for your guys, for your favorite golfers week to week. So I'm totally in. All right. This is a Pat Mayo Open. Starts with Ben Griffin and Siwoo Kim, two of the strongest grinders out there. Ends with Chris Gotterup. Let's go find it and plug it into the prediction So I labeled my PMEs as much as I could, but I don't always label them. This one, Pat Mayo Experience, Pat Mayo Open. Okay, like I said, we want to be a little bit stronger in the second leg of the Pat Mayo Open. I still need to fill out my Canadian, my John Deere, CJ Cup, the Valspar, the Cognizant. So I got one pick here, and then I pick again in round 9, pick 51. This is pick 46. McGreevy stands out to me. I might grab Knapp, seeing how much he's risen and the interest in him. Some people hate McGreevy, or they just don't like drafting him. It's the same thing with Davis Thompson. Davis Thompson was on the winning lineup last year in the scramble. Really strong pick. I think McCarty was too, actually. Let's plug in at least these names and then kind of figure out what we want to do from there. McGreevy, Knapp, McCarty, Thompson. And then highlight those names. So in the first segment, McGreevy stands out because he gets access via the Aon Next 10 into the Pebble and Genesis. They're all pretty similar in the second segment. They're really I'm expecting almost all of them to play the 3 opens and none of the signature events and not the Masters. I mean, the Masters is not that high scoring of an event relative to the others. The Masters, I mean, the average score for top 25 golfers over the last couple seasons has been par, and golfers are averaging like 14 birdies across all 4 rounds. So that's like 3 birdies around, 4 birdies around if you're lucky, and just as many bogeys essentially. So all that to say, if you're missing out on Augusta, it's not the worst thing. You're definitely going to want to have golfers in these middle events. Uh, we're getting 16 birdies for the tournament for TPC San Antonio. At the Houston Open, it's about 17. Innisbrook, about 15. The Players, actually Sawgrass, they're getting a lot more birdies there. So being in the Players, which almost all the golfers are, is helpful. But I mean, like they're almost all in the Players. Heritage is kind of helpful too. So it might be nice to get a few more guys who are in the Heritage, which you can qualify for by winning. Even if you're not in the signature events, you can get a qualification into the Heritage if you won a PGA event in 2025. So that would be a guy like off of this list, Higo. Much later on, Adam Shank is kind of a scroll down guy for that. If I plug Higo into this, and I'm not going to take him yet because his ADP's later. He didn't play these events last year because he wasn't on the tour full time, but we expect him to be on the tour now. He's fully qualified to be on the tour, but he's not in the signature events. He's in the swing 10, so he gets into the Pebble and Genesis, and then he won last year Punta Cana, so he'll be at the Heritage. I'm going to sneak Higo in to my next pick. I think, depending on who's available, but I'm pretty tempted here. It's like, man, it's so close. McCarty gets to play the US Open. That's kind of a nice addition for the final leg of the tournament once you're in the finals, but he doesn't play at the Valero. Not that I really need. Let me check this out. I mean, do I even need someone at the Valero right now? Kind of. I can still fill it out later. Let's see what Knapp looks like. It sucks he doesn't play the Sony, but I've got that nicely filled out so far. He does give me the cog versus McCarty. Gets both. Knapp gets Valero. It's so close. Who I think's honestly a better golfer? Probably Knapp, but right now, Knapp's ahead in FedEx Cup points. I think he is at least. He's slightly ahead. 105th in the world. Data Golf has him at 74. McCarty, 81 in FedEx Cup points. He's a little bit further behind, but 55th in the world, 43rd in Data Golf. Let's go with McCarty. I know Knapp's rising a bunch. Also, McCarty technically his only win is in the Black Desert Championship during the fall 2 years ago. Not the most impressive win. Knapp's, I mean, he got a win at Mexico 2 years ago, which is a little better, I think. McCarty had a T14 the Masters last year. That's kind of nice. I don't think Knapp's had any good showings in a major. Am I forgetting something? No, he's only been ever cut. So McCarty is just slightly better in my mind. I'm going to take McCarty here. And then if it's Higo, if it's McGreevy, Knapp, Thompson with the next pick, I think one of those can work nicely. Let me copy over McCarty below Knapp here. And we'll move on to another draft. Which was a PMO. It was this one. Or no, what? Yeah, wasn't it? Yeah, it was, but I forgot to delete out the Knapp. I'll delete it out. It's below Goddard. Boom. Okay. Well, I might as well just clear the whole team. All right, let's go pull up another team. Got a bunch of slows going. Some of these slows I might not get to tonight. Well, no, we'll get to all of them. Let's get all these slows. This is a scramble. I hate leaving people hanging too. If someone's trying to draft this team before they go to bed tonight, they want to make their pick. If I had like 8 or 10, if I had like 10 hours on a pick, I might save it for the morning, but let's just hammer these out. Burns, Straka through Berger. And this is a regular draft, a regular scramble. Got it. This one I started on the 28th. So we're a few days in. I mean, kind of going fast. The slows usually take 5 to 8 days to complete, it seems like. Ooh, we got to make up some ground. We don't have anyone at the John Deere. Somehow we fell a little bit behind. I remember these selections. I made these selections over the last 2 days, Henley and Berger, and I really need some help here at the John Deere, Canadian even. So it's somewhat hard to combo Canadian and John Deere if you don't go just full on grinder status. But I've got some guys in mind. I mean, does Fox fit this? I know Rogers will. I don't know if I can fit in Fox. Let me just see what it looks like. Fox is going to leave me out at the John Deere, so we're not drafting Fox, but I can get Rogers. I can throw in, I only have one pick, or do I have two? One pick. Rogers should be there later. Is there anyone else I want sooner? What about Højgaard? But Højgaard doesn't get the Deere, which is really annoying. We don't know that he's going to play it. You on Whaley. Kind of a lot of the late round guys that I like. But you fits fine. What am I missing? He kind of hits it all. As long as I can still get someone in the Sony who, and it shouldn't be that big of a problem because guys like Rogers should be in the Sony. That leaves me needing one for Valspar, needing one for the John Deere. I could do it with like a Whaley. I could do it with a Hisatsune. I could do it with a Griot. I need to do my research on Stephen Yeager. FK brought him up earlier. It's a guy I haven't finished doing the research on his schedule. He seems like a guy that should be getting drafted that is usually not getting drafted. I think Kevin Yu is who I want. Kevin Yu is a grinder. He's 90th percentile in rounds played on the PGA Tour in 2025. He is 90th percentile in birdies per round on the PGA Tour in 2025. He played 93 rounds. He only had two top tens, which is pretty weak, but made 18 cuts. Also, for how many rounds, how many events he played, kind of weak. So a lot of cuts there. Not incredible. Not a lot of points in the FedEx Cup. Not a lot of earnings. Only a cool 2.5 million, but it's all relative. I feel like he can still have a nice season, convert some more of those events from being cut to even playing some more rounds. This could be the guy who plays the most rounds of golf of anyone in 2026. So let's draft some Kevin Yu. He was on my squad last year that finished 28th in the scramble. Let's run it back, Kevin. Boom. Go live here. Let me grab him. So that one. And I have to remember to flag that draft. I got to really make sure I make, well, I'll line some guys up. Let me line up some of these guys. Because when I line up some of these guys in the queue like this, it reminds me the direction I need to go to fill out the rest of the roster. I think even Davis Riley. Who am I forgetting? I have to check back in on guys like Hubbard or Hughes, Keith Mitchell, Campbell, Schmid. I don't think Schmid plays the deer is the problem. Okay, next draft. This is a scramble and starts off with JJ Spawn, Xander Schauffele through Ryan Fox. We have a pick in the 11th round here. Spawn, Schauffele to Fox. So I mean, this is a draft where I got Xander Schauffele in the second round. I got to build out a nice roster around him. FK says, I think Jaeger could have a pretty full schedule in rounds 1 and 2 of the contest. I've been making a list of very low owned guys who meet that. Yeah, I know. I've been doing something kind of similar, and you've intrigued me bringing him up because I remember liking him 2 years ago, mid season, and then liking him last year. He was getting drafted a ton last year and didn't have great results, right? So he's a bounce back candidate type of guy, and he's not even that far off in the FedEx Cup rankings. So I want to get more of him. He is one of the Euro guys, though, so it does hurt a little bit that he doesn't grind out like a ton of the U.S. events. He's not like consistently playing here. It seems like I think that was one drawback with him, if I remember correctly. Kind of similar to Maddie, but once they're over here, I mean, let's look it up. So for some reason, I feel like Jaeger wasn't showing up on this list. No, here he is. 82nd percentile in rounds played, 71st percentile in birdies per round. So he's solid, man. And then he's in a solid range. He definitely striking distance. With Maddie, I know he shows up really well actually in these metrics. If I remember correctly, where I had him, Maddie's even higher because he played 79%, 79th percentile rounds played, 91st percentile birdies per round. So Schmid is another guy. I need to work him into more of my rosters. I think I've only drafted him like once or twice. The problem is like I guess projecting his schedule is somewhat tougher, and he's missing out on events like we're not expecting him to play the John Deere. He's not in the Travelers. So you're getting him for the Canadian and the Scottish only, unless he can somehow qualify for the Open. But I'm pretty sure Schmid is far enough off. I mean, he's 88 in the world. You know, if he does well, early in the season he might be able to climb and make it to the Open, but it's a tough one. It seems like his early season schedule is pretty nice though. If he does play the Sony through Phoenix and the Cog, and then he does play all of the Open events and the Players in round two, he seems like a really nice piece for round one and two, like you were saying. And maybe it's just round four he kind of falls off a little bit. Maybe you can cover for him. So yeah, I need to make sure I have my schedule right for Matty Schmid, and then I need to double check and update my Jaeger. But I like both those shouts. On the clock here, this team really just needs a little bit more Canadian, and then it looks like we've got a bunch of sixes. No, we have only six at the deer, so I want two more deer, two more Canadian, and whatever else they fall into is just icing on top. So we're going to the grinders. Let me try you, Mitchell, on. I might grab Whaley this time. Hughes. I don't think On plays the deer either, which I don't draft a ton of him. Yeah, he hasn't been playing the deer. I know you does. Does Keith Mitchell? Yeah, Keith Mitchell's kind of the same as you, except he doesn't get the PGA. But he does play Valero, and he does play Sony, but he doesn't, and he does play the Cog. So Mitchell's good for early and the early two legs. I don't know what he's going to be playing in the third leg besides the Charles Schwab. He's decent for the end. Mitchell's okay. 69th percentile on rounds played, 97th percentile for birdies per round, which is actually very nice for Mitchell. Only three top tens. Only made 18 cuts out of 25 events. He's interesting though. Let's throw him up here. Let's look at his profile a little bit closer. Yeah, I mean, this is a good golfer. He's right there on the borderline. He's not in any of the majors, which kind of is a bummer, but he's won on the tour. He's been a pro for a decade. There's a guy that can get hot and perform well at some tournaments. I mean, looks like two top tens in the events that mattered last year. Keith Mitchell. I did take you earlier. So this time, hmm, he fits my criteria for what I need pretty well in this. I'm going to go ahead. How'd Mitchell do it at the Deer and at the Genesis? He did pretty shitty. 44th and 50th. I mean, that's enough to that stuff matters. How did you do at those two events? Make sure I'm not wrong. He did third at Canadian, 21st at Deer, 34th at the Genesis. Those aren't terrible. Third at the Canadian's pretty impressive. 25th at the Travelers. Well, you was in the signature events last year. He played the Century, Pebble, Genesis, Travelers. I get maybe. How did you get into those events last year? I don't remember him being a signature event guy. Maybe he was. Maybe I can't remember correctly. It's tough. I don't want On. Mitchell just doesn't sound exciting. What about Hughes? I don't think Hughes plays the deer. Hughes doesn't play the deer. Whaley does. Whaley is pretty similar here to Mitchell, except that Whaley also plays the PGA Championship and the CJ Cup. He doesn't play the Farmers, but the Farmers is not an event I care about. He doesn't play the Scottish, which is kind of a bummer. But Keith Mitchell wasn't good at the Scottish. Was it you? I was trying to go between you and Whaley. I don't know. This is tough. This is where I need my scroll downs. It's got to make some decisions around getting a little bit different on some of these drafts. His Satsune is always kind of fun. I can probably get hit with my next pick though. And then who did I just see that I thought about taking? Smalley. We talked about Schmid. On a team where I would like to have two more deers. He gets the Genesis at least in the Canadian. I'll save that idea though. Maybe Schmid gets in there. The question is, do I go you or Whaley? Hi, Smith. I'm gonna go Whaley on this one, I think. But then again, I feel pretty strong in my first round, my first leg selections. I think I do need to beef up my finals. And the only way to do that is to get more volume in these final events. So I'm going to go you here. I just keep drafting Kevin Yu. I've drafted a lot of Kevin Yu. To me it makes a lot of sense to get him. He helps fill out the roster in the finals if you can get there. So I'll get different with my 12th round pick, but I'm going to take you again there on this JJ Spawn Xander Schauffele team. More drafts. This is a Pat Mayo Open, a $25. The event is closed, but let's see what we can do here in round 10. Sam Burns, Michael Kim through Max McGreevy. It looks like it's, which one is it? Here it is. Double the emphasis on round 2. I've been doing that. I've already filled out that roster pretty well. I could use a player in the signature events, maybe even a guy who plays the Canadian. If Ryan Fox is available, that's the obvious selection here. Ryan Fox is available. The question is, do I want to go Fox or a guy like Colley, Glover, or Berger? Let me throw those in. I know I like Fox. Let me throw him in with Colley and Berger. I know I like Glover. Berger's interesting. He played a lot of events last year, but now he's in the signature events. I think the same for Colley. I can't remember if they were in the Siggies last year for sure, but they played a lot. At least Berger did. Fox just has such an advantage. He's not in the Deer, but he's in the Travelers and the Scottish and the Canadian. We expect Fox to come on strong, but just not as he's not as strong early in the season. His second, third, and fourth segments, though, are pretty strong. Just hard to know which events he might skip. But I have like a buffer where if he doesn't play some of the events in the second segment, like the Valspar, Houston, or Valero, I've already got those covered. I just know that he's going to come back to Canada where he won. He's the reigning champion from last year. And then to see him play at like the Travelers and the Scottish and the Open would be nice. So let's do some Ryan Fox. I feel like Ryan Fox has been rising a little bit, but he honestly could be still undervalued. Just a good all around golfer. I think he ended the year pretty strong too. He's been a pro for over a decade, top 40 in the world. How did I know he plays some of the DP events to start the season? That's what we're going to see this year too. That's why he's not playing the Sony or the American Express, unfortunately. Top 20 at the Players is pretty fun. T15 at Houston's not bad. He won the Myrtle Beach Classic, alternate event. And then he won the Canadian Open, of course. T19 at US Open, T17 Travelers. Didn't do very well at the Genesis or the Open. I think he's still a decent golfer. Fits the schedule nice on this one. More slow drafts. This is another scramble. And then I've got a few scrambles where I'm in the first round. So we'll get through those pretty fast. We'll wrap it up here. But let's make some more selections on this one where I'm in the ninth round. I just took Russell Henley, Sam Burns, Sepp Straka, and then Russell Henley. Okay. Yeah, this is just kind of getting some more grinders. It looks like we're pretty good on the majors, pretty good on the signature events, good on the first round, the first segment, decent on the second segment as well. It's just, can we get some more of these grinders late? And who do we like? And how can we pick different names and the guys we're consistently picking? Horschel, I don't know what he does for me at the end, but I like Horschel. He's a guy that fits better early on, I think, though. Plays in the middle. Scottish Open. He's in the majors. That's good for a non-signature event guy. I like Horschel, but not being in the Canadian or the John Deere. And maybe he does play those events, but it doesn't fit this team. I don't know how I can ignore Higo here. I feel like Higo's the obvious choice. Exciting up and comer in the majors. Might not be at the Sony, but he should be playing a ton. And even if he's not in some of those events, I think I can still cover for him. I'm going to go Higo there. And then it's just going to be grinders on that team for the last, was that 3 picks? I might not have been looking at the right team there. Rye, Henley, Higo. I might have been looking at the wrong team. Whoops. Another Sam Burns, Sepp Straka team that had Henley on it. Where's this team? Sam Burns. I think I mixed up my team, so I think I put another player I had on a different team before then. This one goes Bhatia, Rye, Henley, and then I took Higo. Bhatia, Rye, Henley. I have Berger and you on there, but I don't think they were on that team. Well, they're technically not. I think those were on a different base Sam Burns, Sepp Straka team that I had. I'll have to look and find that one. Maybe I messed that one up, but I'll throw Higo on there now. Well, let's see how it fits because it's actually a different team altogether, but it should be somewhat similar. And then this one goes Higo. Pretty similar overall. Yeah, I'll just be drafting grinders the rest of the way out. Guys like Patrick Rogers, Alex Smalley, Davis Riley. Should be fine. What are the odds? I have two teams that had the exact same two first players drafted and the last player drafted at the end. That just means I need to. Well, I mean, I feel like I do get some variations to my teams I'm drafting because of the different draft positions I'm selecting them. But that just tells me I need to get a little bit more different. Hey, shout out to ASAP Tuna. There he is in the one spot in the slow draft here. I'm taking Ben Griffin on this one. Easy click. You have to take Scottie Scheffler at the 101, otherwise you won't get him. But I mean, unless Scottie Scheffler can repeat what he did last season, and there's a good chance he does do something similar to that, uh, it's going to be hard for him to pay off the 101. But that's exactly, I mean, what would you expect? Scottie Scheffler was on each of the top three teams in the scramble last season, and on pretty much most of the teams that did well in the finals. So, but if his season didn't go perfectly, he doesn't play the same volume as a guy like a Ben Griffin did or a Siwoo Kim. And so for this one, I think I do want to grab a Siwoo Kim. I was fading him early. I think now I'm more open to taking him though, and I'll go ahead and pair him up with any one of JJ Spawn, Sepp Strocker, or Harry Hall. Let me do a quick look to see my currently live Siwoo teams. I've got one with Harry Hall in the Pat Mayo. I've got one with Sepp. I've got one with Ben Griffin. I've got one with Cam Young. So let me do one with JJ Spawn. I like Spawn just fine. He's really good. Does he play less events this year? I don't know. All right, another one where we have a top 5 pick here. Do I just go with Siwoo Kim again? I have a ton of Cam Young and a good amount of JJ Spawn. Let me get Siwoo here because he's the one guy I do kind of think I want to get a little bit more exposure to, and then I'll match him up with any of these guys my next pick. So those are some of the slows that I started today. Firing up there. My last slow for the night here. It's a Pat Mayo Open. Let's go to this draft. Sam Burns, Michael Kim, ending with Ryan Fox. Is this team right here? I load it up into my schedule predictor and then see where our gaps are for the last two picks. This is a very strong team. I think I can pretty much take players that I like and try to double up on the beginning of the tournament and the end of the tournament. Just focus on advancing out of my pod. Although it's 2 out of 6 to advance, so it's not that hard to do it. You just want to make sure you have a lot of points in the Sony, the Amex, even the COG to some extent, Phoenix a little bit. And I have a ton of players in that event. So I need to get guys who are definitely in the Sony that would help me out. A little bit weak on the API, but I'm not too worried about that. I don't think that would hurt me too much. No, not a high scoring event. A little weak on Miami and the Truist, but I don't have data on Miami right now. It's a new tournament. Truist is definitely not a high scoring event. Pretty good on Canadian, Travelers, Deer, and Scottish. Really good on Scottish, actually. I might use a little bit of help at Travelers, which would naturally give me one more signature event guy. So maybe one more signature event guy, and it would help a lot if he plays like the Sony or the Amex. Let's see what that could be. Glover or Kitayama. I wonder how much Kitayama plays this year. I feel like Glover's pretty solid in here. He didn't play Houston or Valero last year, and he's not in the Masters this year. But I think he could he still qualify? No, I think the Masters is already. He'd have to like win to get in for the Masters. He just missed qualification for it. Not ideal, but he does play Sony and MX, or at least he should, and the Cogs. So that's a pretty strong piece early. Just doesn't help me too much here in the middle, where I might want and need it. And then at the end there, Travelers and Deer, which are nice, but no Canadian. Glover's an option. Who else we got? Kitayama. I just don't know what events he's not going to play because he played essentially everything last year without being in the signature events last year. Now he is in the signature events, so he has like a classification, change. It's gonna be really hard to predict which events he ends up skipping. And he's pretty solid right now. He's been playing well, so I have been drafting some Kurt Kitayama. Some people are just way out on him. I think he's fine to draft. He's won the API before. It's a pretty hard event to win. He's had some real solid showings in majors. At least one. T4, 2023 PGA. Same year he won the API. He does well with the Genesis. Does well with the CJ Cup. I mean, this is a guy who he can get hot. He can do well in some of these events. He knows how to be a grinder. In 2024, I think he was in the Siggies and he skipped. What did he skip here? He didn't play the Cog. He didn't play the Valspar or the Valero. He skipped the CJ. So he really cut back his events for 2024, which is concerning that he might do that again. I don't know if there's any other signature event qualifiers. I mean, Vegas, Berger. I don't think Berger plays early though. Does he? Is Berger in these early events? Am I forgetting? He should be. He could be. I think he was last year because he wasn't qualified for the Siggies last year, right? We'll find out. Last year, Berger was not in the signature events. He wasn't in all of them. I think he got some sponsor exemptions. Or why was he in the Genesis API, Heritage, Truist, Memorial? Maybe he had the injury. Yeah, it was his due to his injury exemption, I guess. So his status carried over. So he was in the Siggies last year. And he still played all these events. Hmm. Doesn't do so well though at the very end, and he's not in the he wasn't in the Canadian, right? Neither is Glover. If I add Glover, it puts me at 223 events expected. If I did Berger, I'm at 224, so I get the extra event because of the Farmers. I get the Valero, I lose the Valspar. I get the Scottish, I lose the deer. I almost just wanna say Glover here, but I don't wanna give up on the Canadian. How important is the Canadian? It's not the best event. It's a fine one to miss. I think I wanna focus on the Travelers and the deer and the Genesis if I can. Is there a combination of golfers still available who's gonna play the Travelers, the deer, and the Scottish? So all these guys are already drafted. It would have to be Kitayama. No, he doesn't play the Scottish. Bud Colley. Maybe it's Bud Colley or Brian Campbell. Yo, what's up, Jeremy? How we doing, brother? Any luck on the BBM this year? I had 2 teams in the semifinals for BBM, and neither of them advanced to the finals. So I didn't get any finals luck for BBM. I had a couple other finals teams for my season long NFL. They kind of just finished middle of the pack. No big windfalls there. So, pretty much an expected season for NFL season long, nothing crazy. How about you, Jeremy? How'd you do, brother? Didn't do too well in the golf last year. You can always dip some toes in and do a few just to have fun if you like to have a golf sweat. One thing we were talking about earlier on the stream, Underdog is coming out with a new format this year for golf in season. They're doing weeklies instead of being a daily where you only have to draft teams for just Thursday or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You get to draft before Thursday and you have the exact same players that'll play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you could draft a team just for the Sony, just for the Amex. You could draft a team just for the players or the masters, and you draft the team, and that team tries to compete the whole weekend. So that's a new format for them. It's a weekly best ball tournament. That should be pretty fun. It's distinct from where last year you could just play one day at a time. I think it'll be more interesting. So that could be something to get into. That could be pretty fun. Um, I'm looking here. I'm trying to fill out this Pat Mayo Open, and essentially I could do Brian Campbell or Bud Colley. And I don't know if I like that or not. I think I do want some Bud Colley. I think that actually would be sick, but I don't know. With Colley last year, was he in the Siggies and he played those events? I know he had the injury exemption, so it's a little bit hard to figure out. Colley's an okay golfer. He's been a pro for a long time. No, he wasn't in the Siggies last year, and that's why he played so many events. So his schedule's gonna be so hard to predict. Campbell Campbell won mid-season at Mexico and at the John Deere. He wasn't in the Siggies either, so it's gonna be hard to know what he ends up playing again. Did he not play the Canadian? Heritage, CJ, Charles Schwab Memorial. I don't see the Canadian on there, but I swear I thought I had the Canadian here for him. Oh, no, I don't. Well, I guess I didn't select for that. What is my Yeah, I wasn't too worried about that. Does Collie play the John Deere or the Scottish again this year? Damn. Brian Campbell. He could be a grinder again. I mean, top 100 in the world, but doesn't get a lot of love. Collie or Glover. Maybe go Glover. I just feel pretty good about him. And then my last pick, I'll take someone like Hisatsune, and then I'll kind of round out my at least 7 players in every tournament that I expect. Getting 9 in the Deer feels good. 10 in the Scottish. If I get to the finals, the team will compete. Do something like that. I'm gonna toss Glover in on there. I think that's the way I want to go with it. Lucas Glover's. Maybe he gets into some of the other majors, and then adds on to his schedule. He's not in the Masters, kind of a bummer. He does relatively well there. Sam Burns, Michael Kim ended with Fox. Is this one sweet? And that is the slow drafts. I mean, it takes a while to get through these slow drafts and make really thoughtful picks. So, I've got at any given point, I've got like a dozen or more slow drafts going. So I make picks in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, and then definitely at night, getting those picks in. Let's see. Oh, hell yeah. You got a BBM team to the finals. That's sick on its own. 330. Hey, get some, even if you min cash BBM, it's a pretty nice return. So I like that. I mean, you get your money back essentially. So it sounds like you did a little bit better than that. Shout out to Jeremy. Oh, you used to be doing the DraftKings PGA. Okay. Yeah. We'll be checking out the weekly underdog. I'll be doing some of those drafts on stream and stuff. So make sure we check back for that. And I'll be happy to do some of those. Yeah. Yeah. Getting into the finals for BBM, something I have not done yet in my 3 years of entering Best Ball Mania. So I'm still on my to-do list. Boom. Let's go full screen and get rid of this. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you slap that like on your way out if you haven't already. I don't know when to be live next. Maybe tomorrow night. It's Friday. We'll see. I don't know what my plans are yet. Maybe do some more golf stream, some more golf drafts on stream tomorrow. But you know where to find it. We'll be doing drafts on Underdog all winter, spring, summer, and fall. We do it year round. Football, golf, and just talking ball, cutting it up. So thanks for being here. Catch you guys in another one real soon. Shout out to everyone in the chat today coming out. And Happy New Year, everyone. Have a great night. See y'all tomorrow. We'll end it there. Peace.